Miho woke early on Sunday morning in his own bed feeling completely refreshed. The weekend with his friends and the relaxing spa day had left him calm and energized. They loved Yuri for his kindness, not for his wealth, but Miho had to admit it felt wonderful to experience something so luxurious together. None of them could have afforded a place like that alone. Before everyone left the hotel the previous night, Yuri had told Miho that the assistant position would be his if he truly wanted it. However, Yuri suggested that Miho first speak with his current assistant, Hana, to understand the real nature of the work. As Yuri explained with a laugh, the job was not always glamorous, and sometimes felt like trying to control chaos all at once. Miho agreed to talk with Hana and think carefully before making a decision. There was no rush since Hana would remain for a few more months until filming finished before the holidays. Starting after the new year would give Miho enough time to prepare and allow his current workplace to adjust. The idea of working in the entertainment world excited him. It would certainly not be boring, and he might even travel. Yuri was always moving between filming locations. Miho smiled softly, enjoying the peaceful feeling growing inside him. For the first time in a long while, he felt complete on his own. He no longer waited for someone else to bring happiness into his life. He was already building it himself. He sat up and reached for his phone, planning to send congratulatory messages to his friends after their shared self-commitment ceremony. As soon as the phone turned on, a message appeared from Hyun. Hike today at 1. There's a cave trail. Intermediate level. Want to come? A cave hike immediately caught Miho's interest. The last hike had been challenging, but he felt proud for finishing it. After weeks of daily exercises Hana had recommended, his body already felt stronger. Autumn had fully arrived, his favorite season, with cool air and colorful leaves everywhere. A group hike sounded safe enough. With other people around, there was no chance of awkward thoughts getting out of control. He quickly replied yes. Hyun answered almost instantly. Want to grab lunch before? Miho smiled. A simple lunch between friends sounded harmless. Sure, he typed back. I'll pick you up at 11:45. Miho sent a small smiling emoji before switching to the group chat, sending cheerful congratulations to everyone. Messages filled the screen with celebration icons and playful replies, making him laugh quietly. He stepped into the shower, letting warm water relax him, but his thoughts drifted unexpectedly to Hyun during their last hike, especially the moment Hyun had handed him his own shirt without hesitation. Miho shook his head lightly. He refused to obsess over a man again. He focused instead on the happiness of the weekend and the strength he felt after choosing himself. Still, the memory lingered. Hyun had been protective without making a show of it, calm and thoughtful in a way that felt genuine. Miho could not deny noticing his strong build and steady presence. The thought made him sigh before he caught himself. No overthinking, he murmured softly. He finished showering quickly and chose practical hiking clothes, a thin white sweater, khaki pants, and comfortable socks. He paused, reconsidered how awkward the socks looked pulled high, and adjusted them neatly under his pants instead. No makeup, no extra effort. Just simple and natural. He tied his hair back into a low ponytail and studied his reflection. His skin still looked bright from the spa treatment, something he could not really hide. After a moment, he removed the hair tie again and let his hair fall naturally around his face. For reasons he refused to examine too closely, he suddenly wanted to look just a little more like himself when Hyun arrived. A sudden wave of nervous energy rushed through Miho, and he quickly changed out of the clothes he had just chosen. It felt too early to get ready. This was only a casual outing between friends, not a date. He reminded himself of that firmly. He decided to follow his normal routine instead: exercise first, relax afterward, and dress at the last moment. By 11:30, Miho had already accomplished more than expected. He finished his workout, read a few pages from the romantic novel chosen by his book club, and then, unable to sit still, cleaned his apartment from top to bottom. His energy felt impossible to contain. He wiped sweat from his forehead and considered taking another shower, but dismissed the idea. He would only get sweaty again during the hike. Instead, he changed into practical hiking clothes, grabbed his hat and bag, and headed outside. He reached his car before suddenly stopping. Hyun was picking him up today. His stomach fluttered unexpectedly. Miho exhaled slowly, disappointed at how easily his emotions reacted whenever Hyun was involved. He reminded himself that the self-commitment ceremony meant something. He needed to stay grounded. Then he remembered the silver heart necklace. He had forgotten to wear it. Turning quickly, he headed back toward the stairs, and nearly walked straight into Hyun. "Hyun! You're early," Miho said, surprised. Hyun gave a slow smile that immediately unsettled Miho's composure. His dark eyes lingered briefly on Miho's face before drifting downward and then returning to meet his gaze. The look felt warm and intense at the same time. "I got here faster than expected," Hyun said. "Ready? I just need to grab one thing," Miho replied, turning toward the stairs. Hyun followed beside him. Miho became very aware of Hyun's presence, his sharp profile, strong jawline, and the faint shadow of stubble that gave him a rugged appearance. Miho quickly looked forward again. "You can wait outside if you want," Miho added quickly. "I mean, I wouldn't leave a friend standing alone." Hyun stopped walking. "I can wait here if you're uncomfortable." Miho shook his head. "No, it's fine. Really." He climbed the stairs faster, trying to calm his restless thoughts. "So tell me about this cave. Is it old?" "It's been there a long time," Hyun explained. "There's a local story about a traveler who lived there during winter many years ago." "A traveler?" Miho asked curiously. "He traded animal furs across different regions," Hyun said. "People called him the Furman because he wore a coat made from many kinds of fur stitched together. The story comes from around the Civil War era. They say he rarely spoke." "That sounds amazing," Miho said with genuine excitement. Hyun smiled faintly, clearly amused by Miho's enthusiasm. "It might just be a legend, but there's an old photograph of him at the Trailside Museum." Miho instinctively grabbed Hyun's arm in excitement, immediately feeling the solid warmth of muscle beneath his sleeve. Realizing what he had done, he quickly let go. "I want to see that," Miho said, pretending calm. "After the hike," Hyun replied with a teasing grin. "Motivation. I'm going to conquer that trail," Miho declared confidently. Hyun chuckled. "I like the confidence." They reached Miho's apartment door. He unlocked it and stepped inside while Hyun followed, glancing around quietly. "I haven't decorated much yet," Miho said. "It looks comfortable," Hyun answered. "I want to add more color someday," Miho replied. "Maybe warm gold walls. Give me a second." He walked to his dresser, took out the silver heart necklace, and placed it around his neck. Closing his eyes briefly, he held the pendant and breathed slowly, remembering the calm promise he had made to himself. The steady feeling returned. When he walked back into the living room, Hyun stood in the center with his arms crossed, wearing a simple gray t-shirt and faded jeans. Even dressed casually, he carried a quiet authority that filled the room. "Ready," Miho said brightly. Hyun immediately opened the door for him. "I brought tick repellent." Miho blinked in surprise. "You bought tick repellent for me?" "It had good reviews," Hyun replied casually. "Works for 12 hours. Warm gratitude spread through Miho's chest. Hyun rarely spoke openly about feelings, yet his actions always revealed quiet care. "Thank you, Hyun," Miho said sincerely. "I really appreciate it." Hyun looked slightly embarrassed by the praise. "It's nothing." Miho locked the apartment, and together they headed downstairs toward the start of their day. "What did you need to grab?" Hyun asked as they walked. Miho lifted the silver heart necklace from beneath his shirt. "My commitment necklace. I made a promise to myself on Friday. All my friends did too." Hyun nodded slowly. "I see." Normally Miho might have felt disappointed by such a short reaction, but he reminded himself that people express things differently. Not everyone spoke emotions easily, especially Hyun. He tucked the necklace back under his sweater and patted it gently as they reached the parking area. Hyun guided him toward his jeep and opened the passenger door. Miho climbed in, already used to Hyun's quiet gentleman habits. Instead of closing the door immediately, Hyun paused, studying him thoughtfully. So everyone joined the ceremony? Hyun asked. Even the ones already in relationships? Miho laughed. Yes. It wasn't legal marriage. It was a promise to respect ourselves, to be kind to ourselves, and not settle for less than we deserve. We even had a small honeymoon together at the hotel spa. Hyun's lips curved into a faint smirk. Miho pointed at him playfully. Don't misunderstand. It was meaningful. Hyun's gaze briefly dropped to Miho's mouth before returning to his eyes. Congratulations, to you and yourself. Thank you, Miho said with a grin. Hyun closed the door and moved to the driver's seat. Inside the jeep, Miho suddenly became very aware of how close they were. Hyun's calm presence, his steady movements, and the quiet confidence he carried filled the small space. Pizza okay for lunch? Hyun asked as he drove. Perfect, Miho replied, watching autumn trees blur past the window while his thoughts wandered. He wondered how long he should focus only on himself before allowing someone new into his life again. Weeks? Months? He did not know yet. I'm glad you came today, Hyun said. Me too, Miho answered. I'm actually starting to enjoy this fitness routine. I feel stronger. That's the goal, Hyun replied. Miho smiled teasingly. All right, Mr. Muscles. Hyun laughed softly. I thought I was Mr. Tough Guy. You're both, Miho said. Hyun glanced at him. Is that good? Only you can decide that, Miho replied, though his heart was beating faster than he liked. They continued talking lightly until they arrived at the trailhead with the hiking group. The walk began easily, surrounded by cool air and colorful leaves. This time Miho kept pace much better. 2 weeks earlier he had struggled to breathe, but now he felt stronger and more confident. Hyun walked beside him after looping back from the front of the group. We're almost at the cave, he said. We'll rest there. Good, Miho replied, brushing damp hair from his forehead. You don't have to slow down for me. I already reached it once and came back, Hyun admitted. Miho exhaled dramatically. I will pretend I didn't hear that. Hyun grinned. Want to call me Mr. Muscles again? No, Miho said with a playful smile. Maybe stubborn. Hyun laughed. They reached the cave shortly after and sat with the group while a friend retold the local legend of a traveler who once lived there through harsh winters. When it was their turn, Hyun and Miho stepped closer to look inside. It's smaller than I expected, Miho said, peering into the shadowed space. Imagine surviving winters here, Hyun said quietly. Miho smirked. That man must have been tough. Hyun returned the smile, clearly enjoying their shared humor. After stepping aside for others, Miho nudged him lightly. Your adventurous energy is influencing me. Hyun looked pleased. Good. They walked slowly along the trail again. You ever tried fishing? Hyun asked casually. Miho shook his head. Never. We could go next Sunday, Hyun suggested. There's a lake nearby. I have a canoe. It's peaceful. Miho's face brightened immediately. That sounds amazing. We could cook food by a fire afterward. It's catch and release, Hyun said with amusement. But I can bring food. And we can make marshmallow treats, Miho added excitedly. Let's invite everyone and make it a group outing. Hyun hesitated slightly. The canoe only fits 2. Miho laughed and tapped his arm. Then we'll take turns. It'll still be fun. Hyun smiled, though a small part of him had clearly imagined something quieter, just the two of them. Still, walking beside Miho under the autumn sky felt good enough for now. A week later, Hyun decided he really had nothing to complain about. Yes, later that evening they would meet friends for a campfire gathering, but right now he had Miho entirely to himself, sitting together in a small canoe drifting quietly across the lake. They were almost alone on the water, except for a few distant boats, far away near the opposite shore. Miho had not caught any fish yet and had been unusually quiet. Hyun did not rush to fill the silence. Fishing, to him, was about stillness, listening to nature and letting thoughts settle naturally. After a while, Miho looked around and breathed deeply. "This is peaceful," Miho said softly. "I understand why you like fishing. It feels almost like meditation." Hyun nodded in agreement. Miho continued speaking, his voice thoughtful, sharing feelings he rarely spoke aloud. "I became a teacher because I love working with kids, but lately the classroom feels small somehow. I changed grades a few years ago hoping for something new, but now I think I need a bigger change." He gestured toward the open lake around them. "I want to experience more of the world." Hyun listened carefully. "I'm considering working as Yuri's assistant," Miho added. "I talked to his current assistant and it's hard work, but there are amazing opportunities, travel, events, places most people never see. I'm seriously thinking about it." Hyun frowned slightly. "Why become an assistant when you already built a career?" "It could be exciting," Miho said with a small smile. "Or exhausting," Hyun replied honestly. "Always working, always managing someone else's life." He tried to keep his tone neutral, but the thought of Miho leaving unsettled him. Hyun's life was rooted here. His work, his memories, everything connected him to this town. Long-distance relationships rarely survived, and he did not want to lose whatever was slowly growing between them. Miho laughed lightly. "Being busy in Paris doesn't sound so terrible." Hyun sighed. "Working for a friend can be complicated. What happens if something goes wrong?" Miho looked at him with amusement. "I'm trying to reinvent my life a little, and you're ruining it with logic." Hyun smiled faintly. "I guess I'm restless," Miho admitted. "I feel ready for the next chapter, whatever that is. Maybe I should just take the opportunity and see where it leads." Hyun relaxed slightly. Restlessness made sense. Everyone felt it sometimes. "What would you really want?" Hyun asked. "If you could do anything?" Miho tilted his head thoughtfully. "Maybe something completely unexpected." Hyun raised an eyebrow. Miho laughed at his reaction. "I'm joking. I don't actually know yet." "What are you interested in then?" Hyun asked. Miho hesitated, then laughed again at himself. "Honestly? I think I just want excitement. Something new." Hyun watched him carefully. "Maybe what you're looking for isn't somewhere else." He tapped his temple lightly. "Maybe it starts here." Then he rested a hand briefly over his chest. "And here." Miho blinked. "You mean self-growth? Like mindfulness? Like living with purpose?" Hyun said. "Whatever that means for you." Miho studied him quietly. "How did you become so wise?" Hyun laughed. "Not my words. Someone important to me once said that when I felt lost. It helped me figure things out." Miho waited as if expecting more, so Hyun added gently, "Working on yourself is good. Just don't swing too far in the other direction." Miho tilted his head. "What do you mean?" Hyun searched for the right words. He wanted to say don't shut people out while you're finding yourself, but the sentence stayed trapped inside him. He was not ready to risk saying too much without knowing how Miho felt. Before he could continue, Miho's fishing line suddenly jerked. "I got something!" Miho shouted excitedly, jumping up to look into the water. "Wait!" Hyun began. The canoe tipped instantly. Splash! Cold lake water swallowed them both as the canoe flipped. Hyun surfaced first, gasping at the shock of the icy water. Their life jackets kept them afloat as the overturned canoe bobbed nearby. Both of them were soaked, laughing and sputtering at the same time. Miho pushed wet hair from his face and burst into laughter. "I think we scared away every fish in the lake." Hyun could not help laughing too, even as cold water soaked through his clothes. Somehow, even falling into freezing water felt worth it if Miho was smiling like that beside him. Hyun shook water from his hair and quickly gathered the floating paddles and his fishing rod. Miho's rod had disappeared beneath the surface, probably claimed by the lake forever. Hold these, Hyun said, handing the paddles and rod to Miho. Give me a second to flip the canoe. He carefully turned the canoe upright and steadied it before taking the equipment back and placing everything inside. There's water in it, he explained, but we can still get to shore. Sorry, Hyun, Miho said with an embarrassed laugh. I'm still new to all this outdoor stuff. It's fine, Hyun replied calmly. That's why I insisted on the life jacket. Miho splashed water toward him playfully. Hyun immediately returned the favor with a much bigger splash, soaking Miho completely. Bits of lake grass landed in Miho's hair. Sea monster! Miho shouted, trying to shake it off. Get it off. It's just lake grass, Hyun said, swimming closer and gently removing it from Miho's hair. There. All clear. For a moment Miho simply looked at him, eyes soft and quiet. The world seemed to pause around them, water moving gently while their gazes held. Hyun felt the pull between them, warm, undeniable, but he forced himself to look away. We should get back to shore, he said quietly. He climbed carefully into the canoe and offered his hand. I've got you. Miho hesitated. I won't tip us again. No, Hyun assured him. Miho took his hand, and Hyun helped him inside. Miho sat low this time, clearly determined not to repeat the accident. A shiver ran through Miho. I didn't bring extra clothes. Me neither, Hyun said. We'll dry off. I'll start a fire once we're back. Miho raised an eyebrow. And what do we do while waiting? Freeze? Hyun smirked slightly. I'll make sure you warm up. Miho's cheeks colored faintly, and he looked away toward the shoreline. Hyun paddled steadily, strong strokes cutting through the water until they reached land. Once ashore, Miho hugged himself tightly. I'm really cold, he admitted. I've got a towel and a hoodie in the jeep, Hyun said. You can wear it while your clothes dry. Miho shook his head stubbornly. No. Take me home first so I can shower and change properly. Hyun laughed. So now I'm a park ranger? If the hat fits, Miho replied confidently. They teased each other as Hyun secured the canoe and returned. Miho was hopping lightly in place, trying to stay warm, wet hair clinging to his face. Seeing him shivering, Hyun stepped forward without thinking and pulled Miho into a firm embrace. The warmth surprised them both. Miho instinctively held on to him, their closeness suddenly quiet and real. They separated slowly, both slightly breathless, either speaking about what almost happened. Come on, Hyun said gently, picking up their gear. Don't you need the rest of your stuff? Miho asked with a knowing smile. Hyun laughed softly, realizing he had nearly forgotten everything. They walked toward the jeep together, the tension between them softer now but deeper than before. Miho glanced at him and smiled teasingly. You smell like the lake. Hyun shook his head with a grin. You don't smell much better. They both laughed, the sound easy and natural as they headed back, unaware that something between them had quietly changed. What's wrong with smelling like the lake? Hyun asked as he started the jeep. Miho wrinkled his nose playfully. It's a little fishy. Hyun laughed. Impossible. Your splashing scared every fish away. Trust me, Miho said. We smell like walking aquariums. Hyun shook his head, smiling as he drove. Their teasing continued the entire ride, Miho joking about being a city person while Hyun defended his country habits. He realized he had not stopped smiling since they left the water. Miho quickly sent a message to Taeyang, letting him know they would arrive late to the campfire because of the canoe accident. Wrapped in Hyun's oversized gray hoodie, he felt warm and strangely comforted during the drive. The hoodie was so large it nearly reached his knees, and the faint scent of Hyun lingered in the fabric. His lips still tingled from the moment at the lake when everything between them had almost changed. He wanted Hyun. That truth sat heavily in his chest. His body leaned toward yes, his mind warned him to slow down, and his heart refused to give an answer. One step at a time, he reminded himself. Hyun parked outside Miho's building and walked around to open the door for him. Such perfect manners. Miho teased. Someone trained you well. Yes, sir, Hyun replied lightly. Miho laughed as he stepped out. Hyun's gaze lingered on him for a moment longer than usual. I like you wearing my hoodie, Hyun said quietly. Miho pulled the hood over his head. This old thing? Hyun gently lifted his chin, studying him. You look comfortable in it. The warmth in his voice made Miho's heartbeat quicken. They went upstairs together, Hyun's hand resting lightly against Miho's back as if guiding him without thinking. Miho focused on practical thoughts: warm shower, dry clothes, then the party. A clear plan helped keep emotions steady. Inside the apartment, Miho removed the hoodie and handed it back. You should warm up too while I shower. I'm fine, Hyun replied, though his clothes were still damp. Miho handed him a towel anyway and turned on the television. You can watch something while you wait. Hyun crossed his arms instead of sitting. Miho sighed and placed the towel on the sofa. At least sit down. Hyun stepped closer and gently touched the back of Miho's neck, his voice low. You don't listen very well. Miho's breath caught. I'm trying to help. Helpful, Hyun repeated, amused. The moment stretched between them, quiet, charged, impossible to ignore. Hyun leaned closer, brushing his lips softly against Miho's once before pulling back. Timing, Hyun said gently, stepping away. Go shower. Miho hesitated but finally nodded and disappeared down the hall. When Miho returned later, dressed in a soft sweater and jeans, Hyun immediately stood and headed for the door. Let's go, Hyun said quickly. Miho blinked. Why are you suddenly serious? Hyun avoided his eyes. You have no idea how distracting you are. Warm embarrassment spread across Miho's cheeks, but he smiled anyway. They headed back outside together. You smell better now, Miho teased as they walked. No comment, Hyun replied, though a faint smile appeared. At the jeep, Hyun opened the door for him again. Before Miho climbed in, Hyun added quietly, You look good no matter what. Miho's stomach flipped at the unexpected honesty. They drove toward Hyun's place so he could change. Silence filled the car, but it felt thoughtful rather than awkward. Miho's thoughts raced. Could something casual exist between them without hurting either of them? He was still figuring out his life, possibly leaving town for new opportunities. Starting something serious now felt risky. Hyun's townhouse surprised him with its simplicity, minimal furniture, clean spaces, practical and calm. It suited Hyun perfectly. You live here alone? Miho asked. Yeah, Hyun answered. Used to share with a friend, but he moved out. Miho explored the room with curious eyes. It's very simple. I like simple, Hyun said. Work hard, relax, enjoy quiet things. They talked about life choices, travel, and contentment. Hyun admitted he was mostly happy but still searching for something more. What would make it complete? Miho asked softly. Hyun met his eyes. What would make it complete for you? Miho hesitated. I'm still trying to find out. Their conversation turned playful again, teasing each other about romance, expectations, and the difference between fantasy and reality. Laughter broke the tension. Finally Hyun nodded toward the sofa. Sit. I'll shower quickly. Miho settled onto the soft couch while the sound of running water echoed upstairs. His imagination betrayed him, picturing Hyun beneath the shower, and he quickly turned the television louder to distract himself. A short time later, the TV suddenly switched off. Hyun stood in front of him again, freshly showered, hair damp, smelling clean and familiar. We should go, Hyun said, offering his hand. Miho took it and stood, noticing how quickly Hyun released his grip afterward. The distance confused him slightly. They drove back toward the lake in thoughtful silence. After a while, Miho spoke softly. Hyun, are you having second thoughts? About what? Hyun asked. About us. Whatever this is. Hyun glanced at him briefly. Are you? Maybe, Miho admitted. Hyun nodded once. Okay. Miho exhaled slowly, unsure whether he felt relieved or disappointed. After a moment, Hyun added quietly, "You're worth waiting for." The words hit deeper than Miho expected, stopping his breath for a second before his heart began racing again. Late autumn painted the lake in soft golden orange, the air cool enough to carry the scent of falling leaves. Miho walked slowly along the familiar trail, his hands tucked into his jacket pockets, listening to the quiet crunch beneath his shoes. This place had witnessed so many moments between him and Hyun, awkward beginnings, laughter, confusion, and the slow realization that something meaningful had been growing between them all along. Hyun waited near the water, leaning casually against the wooden railing. When he noticed Miho approaching, his serious expression softened into the small smile Miho had come to recognize as meant only for him. "You're early," Miho said. "You said sunset," Hyun replied. "I didn't want to miss it." They began walking together without deciding who led. Their shoulders brushed occasionally, small accidental touches that no longer felt accidental. Miho breathed deeply. "I've been thinking a lot lately." Hyun glanced at him. "That usually means something important." Miho laughed quietly. "I used to believe being strong meant doing everything alone. I worked so hard to prove I didn't need anyone. And now?" Hyun asked gently. Miho slowed his steps. "Now I think strength is choosing someone, without losing yourself." The words hung between them, honest and fragile. Hyun nodded once, understanding more than Miho needed to explain. They stopped near the edge of the lake as the sun dipped lower, painting the water in warm light. The world felt still, as if waiting with them. Miho turned toward Hyun, nervous but certain. "When I made promises to myself, I thought love would only complicate things. I didn't expect someone to come along and make life feel easier instead." Hyun's voice was quiet. "I never wanted to rush you." "I know," Miho said softly. "You stayed even when I didn't know what I wanted. You gave me space, but you never walked away." Hyun stepped closer, careful, giving Miho time to move if he wished. Miho didn't step back. "I stopped chasing perfect endings," Miho continued. "And somehow, that's when I found something real." Hyun's eyes searched his face. "Are you saying?" Miho smiled, nervous but warm. "I'm saying I choose you. Not because I need someone to complete me, but because life feels better when you're beside me." For the first time, Hyun looked openly relieved, emotion breaking through his calm composure. He reached up, brushing a strand of hair gently away from Miho's eyes. The touch lingered, soft and careful. "I've been choosing you for a long time," Hyun admitted. Miho laughed softly, emotion shining in his eyes. "Then I guess I finally caught up." Their kiss came naturally, slow and warm. Hyun's hand rested lightly at Miho's waist while Miho held onto his jacket, grounding himself in the moment. The kiss was unhurried, filled with quiet certainty rather than urgency, as if both of them understood they had already arrived where they belong. When they pulled apart, their foreheads rested together, sharing the same breath and the same quiet smile. Winter arrived gently weeks later, bringing calm evenings and early sunsets. Life did not transform dramatically. Instead, it settled into something steady and real. Miho sat on the couch one evening while Hyun cooked nearby, soft music playing in the background. The apartment felt warmer now, filled with small signs of shared life, an extra mug on the counter, jackets hanging side by side, laughter echoing easily through the rooms. "You're staring again," Hyun said without turning. "I'm memorizing," Miho replied. Hyun chuckled. "Memorizing what?" "This," Miho said simply. "Us." Hyun walked over and handed him a warm cup of tea before sitting beside him. Their shoulders touched naturally, comfortable silence wrapping around them. Miho leaned his head lightly against Hyun's shoulder. Hyun's arm came around him without hesitation, steady and protective. For the first time in his life, Miho did not feel like he was waiting for happiness to arrive someday. It was already here, quiet, ordinary, and real. Love was not a grand rescue or a perfect fantasy. It was choosing each other every day. Outside, snow began to fall softly, covering the world in calm white stillness. Miho smiled to himself, realizing something simple and true. He had not lost himself in love. He had found home within it. And with Hyun beside him, the future no longer felt uncertain. It felt shared. Their story did not end here. It continued, one peaceful step at a time, together.